Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the English Globe podcast. We are so happy to have you here with us today. My name is Adam, and I'll be your host for this exciting and very useful discussion.
And I'm Julia, your co-host. It's always a pleasure to be here with all of you wonderful listeners who are eager to learn and grow. Thank you for tuning in to another episode where we help you learn English in fun, simple, and effective ways.
That's right, Julia. Today's episode is going to be incredibly helpful, especially for those of you who are just starting out on your English learning journey. If you've ever thought, I really want to learn English, but I don't know where to begin, then this episode is made just for you.
Absolutely. We're going to guide you step by step on how to start learning English as a beginner. We know that the first steps can feel overwhelming. There's so much to learn, and you might not know where to focus. But don't worry. By the end of this podcast, you'll feel more confident and ready to take your first steps in learning English.
Before we dive into the topic, let's take a moment to introduce ourselves for those who might be new to our podcast. I'm Adam, a language enthusiast with years of experience teaching and learning languages. I'm here to share tips, strategies, and my own experiences to help make your English learning journey smoother and more enjoyable.
And I'm Julia, also passionate about languages and education. I've worked with students from all over the world, helping them improve their English step by step. One of the best things about learning English is that it opens so many doors, whether it's for traveling, making friends, or advancing in your career. That's why we're here, to help you achieve those goals.
Today's topic, how to start learning English as a beginner, is something that's very close to our hearts. We know that starting can be one of the hardest parts of learning a new language. You might feel unsure about where to begin, what to focus on, or how to stay motivated.
And that's completely normal. Everyone who learns a new language starts from zero. But the important thing is to take that first step, no matter how small it may seem. Starting is what sets you on the path to success.
Exactly, Julia. Taking that first step is like planting a seed. At first, it might feel small and slow, but with time, care, and consistency, it will grow into something amazing.
Learning English as a beginner is not just about memorizing words or practicing grammar. It's about starting a journey that can completely transform your life. English is more than just a language. It's a bridge to opportunities, connections, and new experiences.
And that's why we're so passionate about helping beginners. We believe that everyone can learn English, no matter their age, background, or previous experience. All it takes is the right mindset, the right tools, and a little guidance. And that's exactly what we're here to provide.
So, whether you're learning English to travel the world, get a better job, or simply connect with people from different cultures, this podcast is here to support you every step of the way. We'll give you practical advice, motivation, and the tools you need to succeed.
Let's get started, shall we? In this episode, we'll talk about why learning English is so important, some of the common challenges that beginners face, and most importantly, how to take those first steps to becoming confident in your English skills.
We're so excited to share this journey with you. Stay tuned because the next part of this podcast is packed with practical tips and insights that will make your English learning experience not only effective, but also enjoyable.
And remember, every expert was once a beginner. All you need to do is start, and we'll be here to guide you along the way. Let's dive in. Now that we've introduced the topic and set the stage, let's dive into something that's absolutely essential to understand at the beginning of your English learning journey. Why learn English? It's such an important question because when you know why you're doing something, it gives you the motivation and the focus to keep going, even when things get challenging.
That's so true, Adam. Learning English isn't just about picking up a new skill or hobby, it's about opening up a world of opportunities. English is often called the global language, and for good reason. Did you know that English is spoken by over 1.5 billion people around the world? That's nearly 20% of the world's population. It's not just the official language of countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, and Australia, but it's also widely spoken in countries where it isn't the first language, like India, Singapore, and South Africa.
Exactly, Julia. English is the language of international communication. Think about it. If you're traveling to a foreign country and you don't speak the local language, English is often the bridge that connects you to others. Whether you're asking for directions, ordering food at a restaurant, or meeting new people, knowing English can make your travel experience so much smoother and more enjoyable.
And it's not just about traveling. English plays a huge role in education and academia. Many of the world's top universities and educational institutions use English as the primary language for teaching and research. If you want to study abroad, access high-quality educational materials, or even take online courses, knowing English is a huge advantage. For instance, think about all the free educational resources available online, like videos, tutorials, and articles. A large percentage of them are in English, which means learning the language can give you access to a treasure trove of knowledge.
That's such an important point, Julia. And let's not forget about careers. In today's interconnected world, many companies operate globally, and English is often the language of business. Being able to speak, read, and write in English can give you a significant edge in the job market. Employers value candidates who can communicate effectively in English because it helps them connect with clients, partners, and colleagues from different countries. Whether you're looking for a job in technology, healthcare, tourism, or even customer service, English can be your key to better opportunities and higher salaries.
Absolutely, Adam. In fact, many people start learning English because they see it as an investment in their future. Let me share a quick story about one of my former students, Maria. She was from a small town in Spain and worked as a receptionist at a local hotel. She realized that most of the hotel's guests were international travelers who spoke English. At first, Maria found it difficult to communicate with them, but she decided to take action. She started learning English online, practicing every day after work.
And what happened next, Julia?
Well, after about a year of consistent practice, Maria became confident enough to hold conversations with the guests. Her efforts didn't go unnoticed. Her manager promoted her to a higher position because she could communicate so well with international clients. Today, Maria travels to different countries as part of her job, and she credits her success to learning English.
That's such an inspiring story, Julia. It really shows how learning English can transform someone's life. I have a similar example. A friend of mine, Ahmed, moved from Egypt to Canada for his master's degree. When he first arrived, he found it challenging to adapt because English wasn't his first language. But instead of feeling discouraged, he focused on improving his English every single day. He attended language classes, joined a speaking club, and practiced with his classmates.
And how did that work out for him?
Oh, it worked wonders. Not only did Ahmed excel in his studies, but he also made friends from different parts of the world. Today, he's working as a project manager at a multinational company. He always says that learning English didn't just help him professionally, it also helped him build meaningful relationships and feel more connected in his new country.
These stories are great reminders that learning English is about so much more than just words and grammar. It's about building bridges between cultures, opening doors to new experiences, and creating opportunities that can change your life.
You're absolutely right, Julia. English allows people to connect in ways that might not have been possible otherwise. Whether it's chatting with someone from a different country, accessing a life-changing resource, or advancing in your career, English has the power to make it all happen.
And here's something else to think about. English is the language of technology and innovation. Most of the world's leading tech companies operate in English, and much of the content on the internet is written in English. By learning the language, you're equipping yourself to stay informed and participate in today's fast-paced, digital world.
That's such an important point, Julia. Imagine being able to watch your favorite movies, read international news, or even learn a new skill, all in English. It's like having a superpower that connects you to the world.
So, if you're listening to this podcast and wondering why you should learn English, the answer is simple. Because it's a gateway to endless possibilities. Whether you're starting from zero or already know a little bit of English, every step you take brings you closer to achieving your dreams.
And remember, learning English is a journey, not a race. You don't have to be perfect, you just have to keep going. Even small efforts add up over time, and before you know it, you'll be able to communicate, connect, and succeed in ways you never thought possible.
That's so well said, Adam. All right, let's take a quick break here. But when we come back, we'll talk about some of the challenges beginners face when learning English and how you can overcome them. Stay tuned.
In the last section, we talked about why learning English is so important and how it can open up countless opportunities for you. Now, let's focus on something that every beginner experiences at some point: challenges. Yes, learning English, like any new skill, comes with its own set of difficulties. But don't worry, we're here to not only identify those challenges, but also show you how to overcome them.
That's right, Adam. Let's start by addressing one of the most common challenges: the fear of speaking. Many beginners feel nervous or shy when they try to speak English, especially in front of others. They're afraid of making mistakes, being judged, or not being understood. This fear can make you hesitate, avoid speaking opportunities, or even doubt your ability to learn the language. But here's the truth. Mistakes are a natural and essential part of the learning process. No one starts as an expert, and everyone makes mistakes, even native speakers.
Absolutely, Julia. Fear of speaking is something that almost every language learner faces, especially at the beginning. I remember when I started learning Spanish, I was so afraid of saying the wrong thing that I avoided speaking altogether. But then I realized that the only way to improve was to practice. The more I spoke, the more confident I became. So, to all our listeners out there, don't let fear hold you back. Remember, the people you're speaking with are usually more impressed by your effort than worried about your mistakes.
Another challenge that beginners face is the lack of resources or not knowing which resources to use. These days, there are so many options: books, apps, online courses, videos, and podcasts like this one. While this might sound like a good thing, it can also be overwhelming. You might find yourself asking, where do I start? What's the best way to learn? The key is to focus on resources that match your current level and learning style. For example, if you're a beginner, start with simple materials that use basic vocabulary and sentences. As you progress, you can move on to more advanced content.
That's such a good point, Julia. It's also important to choose resources that are engaging and enjoyable. Learning a language shouldn't feel like a chore. It should be something you look forward to. If you enjoy watching movies, try watching them with subtitles. If you like music, listen to English songs and try to understand the lyrics. The more you enjoy the process, the more likely you are to stick with it.
Another challenge that many people face is time constraints. Let's face it, Life can be busy. Between work, school, family, and other responsibilities, finding time to learn English can feel like an impossible task. But here's the good news. You don't need hours of free time every day to make progress. Even small, consistent efforts can add up over time. For example, you can practice for just 10 to 15 minutes a day. Use your commute to listen to English podcasts, practice vocabulary while waiting in line, or watch a short video before bed. The key is to make learning a part of your daily routine, no matter how busy you are.
That's so true, Julia. I always tell my students that consistency is more important than the amount of time you spend. It's better to practice for a few minutes every day than to study for hours once a week. Think of it like exercising. Regular, small workouts are more effective than occasional long ones. So, if you're listening to this and feeling like you don't have enough time to learn English, just remember that even small steps can lead to big results.
Another challenge we need to talk about is the feeling of frustration or lack of progress. Many beginners start with a lot of enthusiasm, but over time they might feel like they're not improving fast enough. This can be discouraging and even make you want to give up. But here's the thing. Language learning is a journey, not a race. Progress might feel slow at times, but that doesn't mean you're not improving. Even if you don't notice it right away, every word you learn and every sentence you practice brings you closer to your goal.
That's such an important reminder, Julia. I always encourage learners to celebrate small victories along the way. Did you learn 5 new words today? That's a win. Did you understand a sentence in an English movie? That's progress. Did you speak English, even if it wasn't perfect? That's amazing. Focus on these small achievements instead of worrying about how far you still have to go.
And let's not forget about the challenge of staying motivated. It's normal for your motivation to go up and down over time. You might start with a lot of excitement, but as the weeks and months go by, that excitement might fade. This is where having clear goals and a strong why can make a big difference. Ask yourself, why do I want to learn English? What will I gain from it? Write down your reasons and keep them somewhere you can see every day. They'll remind you of the bigger picture and keep you motivated even when the journey feels tough.
That's such great advice, Julia. And one more thing. Don't be afraid to ask for help. Learning a language can feel lonely sometimes, but you don't have to do it alone. Join a language class, find a study buddy, or join online communities where you can connect with other learners. Sharing your challenges and progress with others can make the journey more enjoyable and less overwhelming.
So, to all our listeners, if you're facing any of these challenges, know that you're not alone. Every language learner has been there, and every challenge can be overcome. The most important thing is to keep going, stay consistent, and believe in yourself.
And remember, challenges aren't obstacles. They're opportunities to grow. Every time you face a difficulty and overcome it, you're building the skills and confidence you need to succeed. So embrace the challenges and don't give up.
That's right, Adam. We're here to support you every step of the way. In the next section, we'll talk about practical tips and strategies to help you start learning English as a beginner. Stay tuned, because you won't want to miss it.
If you've stayed with us so far, you've already taken a big step in your English learning journey. In this section, we're going to dive into something truly exciting: your very first steps in learning English. Starting a new language can feel overwhelming at first, but trust me, once you break it down into smaller, manageable steps, it becomes not only easier, but also incredibly rewarding.
That's right, Adam. One of the first things you can do when you're just beginning is to focus on learning basic words and phrases. Think of these as the foundation of your English vocabulary. Words like hello, goodbye, thank you, and please are universal and can be used in almost any situation. Phrases like, "How are you?" or "Where is the restroom?" are also very practical and will help you navigate daily conversations. These basics are your building blocks. They give you the confidence to start communicating, even if it's just a few words at a time.
Absolutely, Julia. When I started learning Italian, for example, I didn't dive straight into grammar or long sentences. Instead, I focused on common words and expressions that I knew I'd use regularly. If you're a beginner, my advice is to think about the situations you encounter in your daily life. Are you going to a store? Learn phrases like, "How much does this cost?" Or, "Do you have this in a different size?" Are you meeting new people? Practice introducing yourself and asking basic questions. This way, you'll feel prepared and confident in real-world scenarios.
Another great tip is to focus on common vocabulary that you can use every day. For example, start with words for family members: mother, father, sister, brother. Learn names of items you use frequently, like phone, bag, or water. If you spend time in the kitchen, learn the words for spoon, plate, and cup. By learning the words that are directly relevant to your life, you'll be able to practice more often and reinforce your memory. It's a simple but powerful way to start building your English skills.
And remember, you don't have to learn hundreds of words all at once. Start small. Maybe aim for 5 to 10 new words a day. Write them down, practice saying them out loud, and use them in sentences. For example, if you learn the word book, you could say, "I am reading a book," or "This is my favorite book." Repetition is key, and the more you use a word, the more it will stick in your memory.
Now let's talk about choosing the right learning tools. With so many options out there, apps, books, videos, podcasts, it can be hard to know where to start. But the good news is that there's no one-size-fits-all solution. The best tools for you will depend on your learning style. If you enjoy listening, podcasts like this one are a great choice. You can listen while you're commuting, cooking, or even exercising. If you prefer reading, start with beginner-level books or even children's stories. They often use simple vocabulary and short sentences, making them perfect for new learners.
And don't underestimate the power of apps. There are so many amazing language learning apps available today, like Duolingo, Babbel, or Memories. These apps are designed to make learning fun and interactive. They use games, quizzes, and exercises to help you practice vocabulary, grammar, and pronunciation. Plus, you can use them anytime, anywhere, which makes it easy to fit learning into your busy schedule.
Videos are another fantastic tool. YouTube, for example, has countless channels dedicated to teaching English. Many of them focus on specific topics, like pronunciation, grammar, or common expressions. Watching videos also helps you improve your listening skills and get used to different accents. And if you're a fan of movies or TV shows, try watching them in English with subtitles. It's a fun way to learn new words and hear how they're used in context.
Podcasts, of course, are another excellent option. They're especially useful because you can listen to them on the go, and they often cover a wide range of topics. For example, our podcast is designed to help beginners like you learn English in a simple, engaging, and practical way. So if you're listening to this right now, you're already using one of the best tools out there.
Now let's talk about the importance of setting realistic goals. When you're starting out, it's easy to feel overwhelmed by how much there is to learn. But instead of trying to do everything at once, focus on small, achievable goals. For example, you might set a goal to learn 20 new words this week or to practice speaking for 5 minutes every day. These small goals might not seem like much, but they add up over time and help you stay motivated.
That's such an important point, Julia. I think a lot of beginners get discouraged because they set goals that are too ambitious. They want to be fluent in a few months or speak like a native speaker right away. But learning a language takes time and patience. By setting realistic goals, you give yourself a sense of accomplishment and keep your motivation high. Remember, every small step you take brings you closer to your ultimate goal.
And don't forget to celebrate your progress along the way. Did you learn a new phrase? Use it in a conversation and feel proud of yourself. Did you understand a sentence in an English movie? That's amazing. These small victories are proof that you're improving, even if you don't realize it right away.
So to summarize, the first steps to learning English are all about starting small, choosing the right tools, and setting realistic goals. Focus on learning basic words and phrases, use resources that match your learning style, and take it one step at a time. And most importantly, don't forget to enjoy the journey. Learning English is an adventure, and every step you take is a step closer to success.
That's so well said, Adam. In the next section, we'll be sharing some practical strategies to help you stay consistent and make learning English a part of your daily routine. So stay with us, because the best is yet to come.
One of the most important aspects of learning English, or any new skill for that matter, is building good habits. Habits are like the foundation of a house. They give structure and stability to your learning journey. If you establish good habits early on, they'll carry you through even the most challenging times. And one of the best habits you can adopt as a beginner is daily practice.
Absolutely, Adam. Daily practice is so powerful because it helps you stay connected to the language. Now, when we say daily practice, we're not talking about spending hours and hours each day. In fact, that's often not sustainable, especially if you have a busy schedule. Instead, aim to allocate just 10 to 15 minutes a day. It might not seem like much, but those minutes add up over time. Think about it. If you practice for 15 minutes every day, that's almost 2 hours a week.
And the best part is, you can fit those 15 minutes into almost any part of your day. Maybe you practice during your morning coffee, while you're on your lunch break, or just before you go to bed. The key is to make it a regular part of your routine. When something becomes a habit, it feels natural, and you're more likely to stick with it.
That's so true, Adam. Another important step in building good habits is creating a study plan. A study plan doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as deciding what you want to focus on each day. For example, you might spend one day learning new vocabulary, another day practicing listening skills, and another reviewing grammar. Having a plan helps you stay organized and ensures that you're making progress in all areas of the language.
And don't forget to make your plan realistic. If you're just starting out, you don't need to cover everything at once. Focus on the basics and build from there. For example, in your first week, you might decide to learn 20 new words, practice listening to a short podcast, and write a few simple sentences in English. These small, manageable goals keep you motivated and give you a sense of accomplishment.
Another thing to keep in mind is that consistency is more important than perfection. When you're building good habits, it's okay to make mistakes. In fact, making mistakes is a natural part of learning. What's important is that you show up every day and put in the effort, even if it's just a little bit. Consistency is what leads to progress over time.
I completely agree, Julia. I've seen so many learners give up because they're afraid of not being perfect. But the truth is, no one becomes fluent overnight. It's a gradual process, and every step you take brings you closer to your goal. Even if you only practice for a few minutes a day, as long as you're consistent, you'll see improvement.
And let's not forget that building good habits isn't just about studying. It's also about creating an environment that supports your learning. For example, you could label items in your home with their English names, like door, window, or chair. You could listen to English music while you're cooking or set your phone's language to English. These small changes make English a natural part of your daily life and help reinforce what you're learning.
That's a great point, Julia. Another habit you can build is finding opportunities to practice speaking. Even if you don't have a conversation partner, you can talk to yourself in English. Describe what you're doing, what you see around you, or what your plans are for the day. It might feel a little silly at first, but it's a fantastic way to improve your confidence and get comfortable with the language.
And if you do have the chance to practice with someone else, take it. Whether it's a friend, a language exchange partner, or even a teacher, practicing with another person helps you learn faster and gives you valuable feedback. You could also join an online community or group where people are learning English. Sharing your journey with others keeps you motivated and makes learning more fun.
I'd also add that it's important to track your progress. Keep a notebook or journal where you write down new words, phrases, or grammar rules you've learned. Review it regularly to see how far you've come. You can also use it to set goals for the future. For example, if you've mastered the basics, you might decide to focus on more advanced topics like idioms or phrasal verbs.
And don't forget to reward yourself for your hard work. Learning a new language is a big achievement, and it's important to celebrate your progress. Maybe you treat yourself to a favorite snack when you reach a goal, or you take a day off to relax and watch an English movie. Rewards keep you motivated and make the process more enjoyable.
To sum it up, building good habits is all about consistency, planning, and making learning a natural part of your daily life. Start small, focus on what matters most, and remember that progress is more important than perfection. With the right habits, you'll not only improve your English skills, but also develop the confidence to use them in real-life situations.
That's exactly right, Adam. In the next section, we'll be talking about some of the best resources you can use to support your learning journey. From apps and websites to books and podcasts, we'll cover it all. So stay tuned and let's keep learning together.
Now, Julia, one of the most essential aspects of learning English, or any language really, is developing strong listening and speaking skills. These are the core components of communication, and mastering them opens the door to meaningful interactions with others. So, let's dive into some practical ways to improve these skills, especially for beginners.
That's right, Adam. Listening skills are like the foundation of understanding. One of the best ways to start is by listening to simple audio materials that are specifically designed for learners. Podcasts like this one, beginner-friendly songs, or even children's stories are great options. The key is to choose materials that use clear and slow speech. At the beginning, it's more important to focus on understanding than trying to listen to fast or complex conversations.
And when you're listening, don't just let the audio play in the background. Be an active listener. For example, pause the audio after a sentence or phrase and try to repeat it. This not only helps you understand the meaning, but also allows you to practice pronunciation and sentence structure. Repetition is a powerful tool, especially for beginners.
Speaking of pronunciation, imitating native speakers is another fantastic strategy. When you listen to audio materials, pay close attention to how words are pronounced, where the stress falls in a sentence, and even the rhythm of speech. Then, try to mimic it as closely as possible. You don't have to sound perfect. What matters is that you're practicing and getting better with each attempt.
And don't forget to practice speaking as much as you can. If you have a partner or a friend who speaks English, that's fantastic. Set aside time to have simple conversations with them, even if it's just for a few minutes a day. But if you don't have a partner, don't worry. Language apps like Duolingo, HelloTalk, or Tandem are great alternatives. They allow you to connect with other learners or native speakers and practice your speaking skills in a low-pressure environment.
Another effective method is to describe your surroundings or talk about your day in English. For example, you could say, "I am making tea," or "The weather is sunny today." It might feel a little strange to talk to yourself at first, but it's an excellent way to build confidence and fluency.
And let's not forget about listening comprehension. Watching videos with subtitles in English can be a game changer. Start with subtitles in your native language to understand the content, and then switch to English subtitles when you feel more comfortable. This helps you connect spoken words with their written forms, improving both your listening and reading skills at the same time. Moving on, Julia, let's talk about reading and writing, which are just as important as listening and speaking when it comes to mastering a language. Reading helps you expand your vocabulary and understand sentence structures, while writing gives you the opportunity to use what you've learned in a creative way.
That's true, Adam. For beginners, starting with simple texts is the way to go. Children's books, short stories, or beginner-friendly articles are perfect because they use basic vocabulary and straightforward sentence structures. As you read, try to focus on understanding the meaning of each sentence rather than worrying about every single word. Over time, you'll naturally pick up new words and phrases.
A great tip for beginners is to keep a notebook handy while reading. Write down any new words or phrases you come across, along with their meanings. Then, review these notes regularly. This helps reinforce what you've learned and makes it easier to remember.
And let's not forget about writing. One of the best ways to start is by keeping a daily journal in English. Write about your day, your thoughts, or even your plans for tomorrow. For example, you could write, "Today I went to the park. The weather was nice and I enjoyed walking." It doesn't have to be perfect or long. What matters is that you're practicing every day.
Another practical exercise is to write simple sentences or emails. For instance, you could write an email to a friend or even pretend you're sending a message to someone. This not only improves your writing skills, but also helps you learn how to communicate in everyday situations.
And, Adam, reading and writing go hand in hand. After reading a short story or article, you could try summarizing it in your own words. For example, if you read a story about a family picnic, write a few sentences about what happened in the story. This helps you understand the content better and gives you practice with sentence construction.
Another fun way to practice is by writing letters to yourself or imaginary characters. For example, you could write a letter to your future self about your goals for learning English. This not only improves your writing, but also keeps you motivated.
And don't forget about online resources. There are so many websites and apps that provide short reading exercises and writing prompts for beginners. These tools are especially helpful because they give you instant feedback on your progress.
To wrap this up, reading and writing may seem challenging at first, but with consistent practice, they become easier and more enjoyable. Start small, be patient with yourself, and celebrate your progress along the way.
That's great advice, Adam. In the next section, we'll be talking about how to stay motivated and overcome obstacles on your English learning journey. So don't go anywhere. There's still so much more to explore.
One of the most important things to remember when you're learning English, or really when you're trying to learn anything new, is to stay motivated and maintain a positive mindset. Learning a new language can feel overwhelming at times. There will be moments when progress seems slow or when you make mistakes and feel frustrated. But the key is to remind yourself that every step forward, no matter how small, is still progress.
Exactly, Adam. It's so easy to focus on what you don't know or the areas where you struggle. But what you should really do is celebrate your achievements, even the small ones. For example, if you've learned 10 new words this week, that's fantastic. Think about how those words could help you in your next conversation or when reading something in English. Acknowledging these small wins can make a big difference in how you feel about your progress.
That's such a good point, Julia. Another way to stay motivated is to set short-term goals that are achievable. Instead of saying, "I want to become fluent in English," you could say, "This week I'll learn 20 new vocabulary words," or "I'll practice speaking for 10 minutes every day." Breaking your learning journey into smaller, more manageable steps can make the process feel less daunting and much more rewarding.
And don't forget about the power of inspirational stories. Many people have faced the same challenges you're facing right now, but they pushed through and succeeded. For example, there are stories of individuals who started learning English from scratch, and within a few years they were able to travel, work, or even study in English-speaking countries. These stories remind us that success is possible if you stay consistent and never give up.
That's true, Julia. I recently read about a woman who started learning English at the age of 40. She started with just a few minutes of practice every day, using online resources and speaking with her grandchildren. A few years later, she was confident enough to travel alone to English-speaking countries. Her story is a testament to the fact that it's never too late to start and that perseverance really pays off.
Those kinds of stories are so inspiring. And for our listeners, remember, no matter how hard it gets, remind yourself why you started. Maybe it's to advance your career, connect with people from different cultures, or simply challenge yourself. Whatever your reason, keep it in mind whenever you feel like giving up.
Now, Julia, let's talk about some practical resources that can make the English learning journey a lot easier and more enjoyable for beginners. The truth is, there are so many tools and platforms out there that can help you learn at your own pace and in a way that suits your learning style.
Absolutely, Adam. One of my top recommendations for beginners is to start with apps like Duolingo or Babbel. These apps are designed specifically for language learners and are incredibly user-friendly. They offer lessons in short, manageable chunks, which is perfect for people who have busy schedules. Plus, they're interactive, which makes learning fun.
I completely agree. Another great resource is YouTube. There are so many channels dedicated to teaching English to beginners. For example, channels like the English Globe provide not only lessons, but also practical tips and engaging content to keep learners motivated. You can find everything from grammar tutorials to videos that teach common phrases used in daily life.
That's a great point, Adam. And let's not forget about audiobooks and podcasts. Listening to English while commuting, cooking, or even exercising is a fantastic way to improve your listening skills. There are beginner-friendly audiobooks with simplified vocabulary, and many podcasts, including ours, are designed to cater to learners at all levels.
Books are also an invaluable resource. For beginners, I recommend starting with bilingual books or graded readers. These books are written specifically for learners and use simple language to tell engaging stories. Reading helps you learn vocabulary in context, which is much more effective than just memorizing word lists.
And if you're someone who likes structure, there are online courses that offer step-by-step guidance. Platforms like Coursera or Udemy have English courses for beginners that are affordable and sometimes even free. These courses often include videos, quizzes, and assignments to reinforce what you've learned.
And of course, Julia, we can't forget to highlight the English Globe. It's an excellent resource for anyone looking to improve their English skills. With podcasts, stories, and tips for learners, it's a comprehensive platform that's both educational and entertaining.
Absolutely, Adam. For our listeners, remember that you don't have to stick to just one resource. Experiment with different tools and find what works best for you. The most important thing is to keep learning and stay consistent.
That's right. So, whether you prefer apps, videos, books, or podcasts, there's something out there for everyone. Use these resources to make your learning journey enjoyable and effective. And remember, every small effort you make today will bring you closer to your goal of mastering English.
That's a perfect note to end on, Adam. In the next segment, we'll be discussing how to stay consistent and measure your progress over time.
Now, it's time for one of my favorite parts of the podcast, the interactive segment. This is where we answer some of the most common questions that beginners have about learning English. Julia, what's the first question we have today?
Great question, Adam. One listener asked, I always feel nervous when I try to speak English. How can I overcome this fear? This is a very common concern for beginners, and the best advice I can give is to start small. Don't worry about being perfect. Practice speaking in low-pressure situations, like talking to yourself at home or reading a short text aloud. The more you practice, the more confident you'll feel.
That's great advice, Julia. I'd also add that finding a supportive partner or group to practice with can make a big difference. There are many language exchange apps where you can connect with others who are also learning. It's a judgment-free way to practice, and you'll realize that everyone makes mistakes. It's part of the learning process.
Another question we received is, how much time should I spend learning English every day? Adam, what do you think?
I'd say it depends on your schedule. Even just 10 to 15 minutes a day can be effective if you're consistent. If you have more time, you can divide it between listening, speaking, reading, and writing. The key is to make it a habit. For example, listen to a podcast during breakfast or practice writing a few sentences before bed.
Absolutely, Adam. And here's another interesting one. What's the best way to remember new words? My tip is to use those words in sentences as soon as you learn them. If you just memorize a list, it's easy to forget. But if you use a new word to describe your day or write it in your journal, it'll stick better.
Another great technique is to connect the word with an image or a memory. For example, if you're learning the word sunny, think of a sunny day you enjoyed. Visualization makes vocabulary more meaningful and easier to recall.
These are excellent strategies, Adam. To all our listeners, if you have questions or topics you'd like us to discuss in future episodes, please leave a comment or send us an email. We'd love to hear from you and include your questions in our upcoming podcasts.
That's right, Julia. Your questions not only help you, but they also help other learners who might be facing the same challenges. So don't be shy, reach out. As we wrap up today's episode, let's quickly review the key points we've discussed. We started by talking about why learning English is so important in today's world. We then moved on to the challenges beginners face and reassured you that those challenges are normal and can be overcome.
That's right. We also gave practical tips for taking the first steps, like learning basic words and phrases, setting realistic goals, and choosing the right tools for your learning journey. Building good habits, like daily practice and consistency, was another big focus.
Don't forget the importance of improving your listening and speaking skills through simple materials like podcasts, songs, and practicing with a partner. We also talked about reading and writing, starting with simple texts and keeping a daily journal in English.
And of course, we touched on motivation and staying positive. Celebrate your progress no matter how small, and remind yourself why you started. Use resources like apps, YouTube channels, and podcasts to make your learning journey enjoyable.
Now it's time for you, our listeners, to take action. Think about one tip or strategy from today's episode that you can apply immediately. Maybe it's downloading a language app, practicing 10 new words, or setting a small goal for this week. The first step is always the hardest, but it's also the most important.
Thank you all for joining us today. We appreciate your time and your effort in taking the first steps toward learning English. Remember, learning a new language is a journey, and every journey begins with a single step.
That's beautifully said, Julia. And to our listeners, don't forget to subscribe to the English Globe for more tips, strategies, and inspiration. We're here to support you every step of the way.
Until next time, stay consistent, stay positive, and keep learning. See you in the next episode.
Goodbye, everyone. Keep practicing and remember, you've got this.